$1 Million Smile, 1 billion hits online, and a theme song that Earworm Weekly rated their Housewives' Choice for 2024. Joe Hendry's meme-teoric rise has been unavoidable. So when Joe Hendry was announced for the main event of TNA Slammiversary, having successfully already earned a golden handshake from head chef Shawn Michaels and become the talking point of Tuesday nights on NXT, it seemed to be a foregone conclusion that TNA would bestow their highest honor, the TNA World Championship, on their star attraction. Except they didn't. In fact, he was taken out halfway through the match, courtesy of a heel turn that saw Josh Alexander's heel turn in the direction of Hendry's prestigious ones. It was a decision that was met with loud chants referencing bovine droppings from the Montreal masses, one of the loudest negative reactions of the night. One of them, at least, which is impressive when you consider that TNA Slammiversary in Montreal featured an appearance by Earl Survivor Series 97 Hebner. So the question is, did TNA drop the ball with Joe Hendry? Should they have made TNA champion of Joe that night in Montreal? Well, the ball was firmly in their court in the weeks leading up to Slammiversary. This is the first time in a while it feels like Slammiversary wasn't built around the past, but it was very much placed in the present and focused on the future. TNA's special relationship with NXT has seen Tuesdays and Thursdays bleeding over constantly in the run-up to Slammiversary. We've seen Jordan Grace fending off Knockouts title challenges from black and gold upstarts like Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley. Seen the No Quarter Catch crew going full tilt on the Rascals, which led to Wesley rejoining Trey Miguel and Myron Reed in a cross-platform crossover. It's far more engaging and logical than Mario and Sonic at the Beijing Olympics. Most things are, to be fair. And of course, it saw the first appearance of Joe Hendry on WWE programming, cutting a promo on an entire battle royal, only to be eliminated by them all just moments later. In the weeks leading up to this moment in Joe Hendry's career, he'd been on an intense social media campaign, burying this Scotland smile, or as I've started calling it, the Iron Brew Steel, deep into the subconscious of anybody with a mobile phone in their hand. It was all part of Hendry's latest disruptive ploy. He does love a disruption, does Joe, to get his theme song into the charts. In doing so, not only did he begrudgingly force the BBC Radio 1 chart show and presenters on Capital FM and Heart to acknowledge the very existence of wrestling, but he had started turning heads with non-wrestling fans as well. When you get messages from a mate like I did, who doesn't watch wrestling, saying he's got that bloke Hendry's theme stuck in his head, you know that you've fully kicked down the door and entered the cultural zeitgeist. Joe had grafted and crafted to create his own buzz, his own disruption, which was not ignored by WWE, who leapt at the chance to own a slice of pop culture by putting Joe Hendry front and center on NXT, ahead of their own talent in some cases as well. There was a lot of buzz when this special relationship started with NXT and TNA about when we would see Joe Hendry. Now, I was lucky enough to be on the Burning Heart Pro Wrestling Tour with Joe just a few days after that aforementioned NXT Battle Royal happened, and we spent ages in the car together. From our hours of confirmation, I can confirm that, here's a little secret for you. Ready, Fightful? Joe Hendry and I both feel that Carnival Night Zone from Sonic 3 on the Mega Drive was counterintuitive on too many occasions. But it was on that tour that Joe took a photo outside an ice cream parlour called Joe's in Swansea and remarked on the UK having a heat wave. And I watched as all of a sudden the biggest WWE talking point of that Sunday afternoon was Joe Hendry teases NXT appearance. Now, admittedly, it's not new, this sort of thing, like wrestler starts story, but it's quite exciting for a muggle like me to watch it happen to my mate in real time. It got to the point where if Joe Hendry wasn't on NXT or TNA, people were asking, where's Joe Hendry? He's like Poochie, but popular, and thankfully he didn't die on the way back to his home planet. All the stars seem to be aligning for Joe on the road to Slammiversary. And Hendry had made no secret about wanting to mix it up with John Cena as well. As a man keen on manifestation, it's still to this day looking rather likely to be a thing that somehow bursts into existence. I mean, he's having all these wild things happen. Why not put out into the universe that you want to match with John Cena as well? So surely for TNA, the company Joe is signed to, the next thing to do is make him the star attraction of your show. Build your fortunes around the guy the industry is talking about. They had Hendry put TNA champion Moose through a table on the Go Home Impact before Slammiversary. They even had him pin TNA champion Moose during that six-way elimination match, a move that guaranteed a title change. Yet they actually shied away from taking Joe all the way to Victory Town. With a low blow from the walking weapon, Hendry found himself sort of frustratingly stuck in the middle, like in Carnival Night Zone on Sonic 3. You know that bit where you have to navigate those spinny barrels? That was a good hour of conversation in the car with me and Joe, that was. The decision to have Josh Alexander turn heel in Montreal, his home country, and put the stoppers seemingly on the momentum of the hottest guy in the entire industry right now was a bit of a head-scratcher for many. Obviously, the story will pan out. That was the vibe that we got. Josh Alexander may be upset that Joe's getting all the attention as the main character of TNA when he should. You know, you could play into the fact that Joe Hendry upstaged Ethan Page during a tag match on NXT, and of course the North always remembers, etc., etc., etc. You could do that. Without giving away too much of the game when it comes to the upcoming TNA Impact tapings, it seems as if Joe Hendry and Josh Alexander don't even cross paths beyond this heel turn at Slammiversary. Both seem to be going on to different storylines. Joe Hendry's not even revolving around the world title. Not to say they won't find each other again down the road, and not to say that Joe won't find his way down the road, but for now it seems that Josh Alexander's baddie realignment moment came at the cost of the momentum of Joe Hendry. Now, it's obvious that WWE, especially Shawn Michaels, have got some grand designs on Joe Hendry. So it feels like a foregone conclusion that a career path very much leads to Paul Levesque's terraformed Titan Towers, which makes this time in TNA, however long left, all the more special. And having Joe Hendry become TNA World Heavyweight Champion whilst the eyes of the world are on him, and have him carry that TNA title onto WWE programming with all the buzz a-buzzing, just seems to make sense, doesn't it? So why not do it now? I mean, wrestling is littered with moments where promoters waited just a little bit too long to metaphorically pull the trigger. Sometimes flat out refusing to pull the trigger out of spite. I mean, the former, it was Rob Van Dam in the mid-90s, who Paul Heyman waited just a little too long to move towards the ECW title. An injury meant that Rob Van Dam wouldn't become ECW champ until WWE owned the company many years later. But away from that, Chris Jericho's entertaining WCW tenure had the legs well and truly cut off it, courtesy of a reluctance from some WCW management to book a Jericho-Goldberg feud, and from Goldberg, who was reluctant to also book a Jericho-Goldberg feud. WWE themselves, in the times before now, infamously missed the boat with the likes of Vader, Zack Ryder, Damien Sandow, Cesaro, Rusev, many of those being outright punished for the insubordination of getting over organically. You monsters. Daniel Bryan would have met the same fate had the outcry from the WWE universe not been so universal. Of that, there is no doubt. But this is a very different time that we're in now. But of course, back then, it was almost seen as a crime against humanity to get over on your own accord, as Joe Hendry has done. So the fact that they're not striking now, did TNA drop the ball with Joe Hendry? Now, I'm sure that you'll have your own thoughts on that, but you know what? Despite everything that we've talked about here, I'm saying no, certainly not yet. TNA are choosing, despite the risks that come with it, to dribble the ball a little bit longer. Now, whilst Joe Hendry's crowning moment, overcoming 5 guys, not the burgers, in a Slammiversary main event would be special, a one-on-one match for the TNA World Title in the main event of, say, Bound for Glory, your biggest show of the year, carries even more gravitas with it. Now, this is a high-risk, high-reward scenario, because Bound for Glory is 3 months away, which is a long time in 2024. So you're hoping that Hendry mania has the virility to still be strong and firm in October, which is always difficult when it's colder. This invokes micromanaging of those peaks and troughs of the character. It's ironic since Joe is calling out John Cena as he has done on press conferences and on Talk Is Jericho, because you're only ever a few weeks of invincible booking away from becoming the Super Cena that fans repelled in the mid to late noughties. So you are walking a line. But why risk walking the line? Well, a report from PW Insider gives you an idea of what TNA might be edging for. As sources close to the Insider say, there is currently 2 locations being considered for TNA's biggest show of the year, Bound for Glory: New York City or the United Kingdom. Now, TNA has the opportunity to do something that their current bezies, WWE, have been oh so reticent to do, and have a Scotsman win a world title in the UK. Hendry becoming TNA champion on this green and pleasant land is something they could easily smash gate attendance records with. And you have to admit, there is far more appetite to see a guy win a world title in their home country than retain one. This is what I think the gang at Anthem have got their eye on. So that's why they are choosing to suffer the slings and arrows of negative reaction online, because it could very well make the moments that we are waiting for even bigger. You'll have your own thoughts, you'll have your own beliefs, but I, for one, believe. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.